Hey there. I had a thought that I wanted to share with you. So you probably know that I'm a fan of if you follow what I upload, I'm a fan of the Stoics, the Greek and Roman school of philosophy, a way of thinking, that puts emphasis on temperance and virtue, reason, simplicity, these seemingly noble characteristics and traits that help to live what the Stoics would call the good life. And I was thinking about, because I read the Bible every day, and I've just finished a long journey through the book of Job, and I just finished that. It took me. I must have spent the last 2 months of daily study in that, and it's pretty interesting. So I was thinking when I finished it, that the trial that Job went through, how would that have been different if he had been a Stoic, rather than a man of God? It certainly wasn't a Christian. That was too soon. It was long before Christ appeared. How would Job have handled the trials differently? So let's set the stage. Imagine the state of, initially, let's take the Stoic virtues, right? The Stoic virtues let's categorize them. And I'm probably going to take liberty with these and kind of describe them in the way I like to see them. One would be, of course, the quality of wisdom, being able to research, identify, and then incorporate wisdom into our lives. And that's done through exposure, reading, hearing others speak, the example, and maturity. Wisdom. The next would be reason and its corresponding characteristics of logic, for example, and skepticism, trial and error, scientific method, etc., etc. So we have wisdom and reason. Next would be temperance, the ability to control our consumption of all things, work, play, food, drink, whatever it is, sex, everything, just being able to taking everything in moderation. So controlling the appetite. So wisdom, reason, temperance, fortitude, the ability to carry on in spite of difficulty. Also apathy, the ability to recognize what is and what is not within our control, and more importantly, recognizing that most of it is out of our control. And I'm probably missing a couple of others, but let's just recite this real quick. Wisdom, reason, temperance, fortitude, apathy, and I'm sure there's more. So let's bring about the story of Job. So the story begins with God up in his celestial throne, entertaining a host of angels, and among those angels is Satan. And Job, or God basically kind of, brings Satan a little bit near, even though he's kind of mischievous. And says, what have you been up to lately? Of course, God knows everything, he knows, but Satan says, well, I've been wandering the earth. God says, have you seen my servant Job? Have you seen my servant Job? He's the best of all. He's really capital in my book. I mean, he really is a righteous man. He serves me, and I'm pretty darn proud of that. I'm proud of that guy. Have you seen him? And Satan's like, oh, Job, schmob. You think he's virtuous, you think he has strength, but that's because you favor him. You put a wall around him. You protect him. He's got flocks. He's got cattle. He's got his wife. He's got kids. What does he have? 7 sons and 3 daughters. He's got friends. He's got it all, right? Riches. What if you took that away? I bet you. It doesn't quite say a bet, but it comes off as a wager. I'll bet you, God, that if you took those favors away, Job would be singing another tune pretty quickly. Yep, I do. Well, God, kind of up to the challenge, thinks Job's up to the challenge, says, so be it. Job's in your hands. I just require that you do not touch him personally, but you can, all the other stuff, have at it. Now, this whole machinations in heaven that are going on. Now, to a Stoic, if Job was a Stoic, if he somehow knew that this was going on, he would not be surprised one bit, right? The Stoics have this concept of fortune. fortune being all the things that are happening in this great universe about, of which the consequences to you and me are just fleeting and whimsy and seemingly contrived, random, and certainly something that we have little say or ability to do anything about. So Job would be like, well, there you go. I mean, if he was a Stoic, Job would be like, well, they're up there doing their thing. They're going to do their thing. There's nothing I can do about that. I'm going to exercise a little temperance. Apathy. Did I say apathy? Was that on my list before? I think I did. I'm going to exercise a little apathy and recognize I can't do anything about that. So be it. So now Satan comes back down to earth, and quickly, in short order, like in a day, it rains down fire upon his flocks, and thieves come in and take away the cattle and kill all the slaves and servants that were watching them. Then the entire building that his children were in, having a feast, collapses upon them, killing them all. It's a mess. And Job, within like 24 hours, 48 hours, he loses it all. Now, Job's response, I'm parked here on the side of a road in the mountains. So here comes a car. This seems like the kind of place where a crime scene would happen. So Job's response to that is he falls to pieces, basically. He wonders what it is that he possibly did to deserve that. So he's not blaming God yet, but he does wonder what it is that he did to deserve this. And he tears his clothes and he rips his hair. I think he rips his hair. He basically does it all. I think he strips himself naked, and he tries to get himself, he says basically, no, that comes a little bit later. He basically wonders what he did to deserve this. So Satan then again appears before God, and God's like, see, he didn't flinch, right? And then Satan's like, yeah. That's just because you didn't let me touch him. Why don't you let me at him myself, personally? We'll see what kind of situation we're in then. God's like, okay, as long as you promise you won't kill him, do what you will with him. No problem. Just don't kill my servant Job. It's a deal. Shoo, Satan's back to earth. Now, so far, Job's, I forgot to add the Stoic perspective. How would Stoic Job respond to the loss of everything? Gosh, how did I forget to do that? That's the whole purpose of this video. Stoic Job would have looked at the loss of his flocks, his cattle, his servants, his slaves, his wife. His wife stayed alive. His wife definitely stayed alive, because she suggests to him that he kill himself later. But his children, a Stoic would respond to that by saying, as the one famous Stoic Stilbo said when he left the city of destruction, where his whole family had been destroyed, lost everything, and the conquering general said to him, what have you lost in this raging destruction? And the Stoic said, I have all my goods with me, meaning that he's got all of the accessories of the Stoic man of virtue, right, or woman of virtue, the aforementioned wisdom, reason, temperance, fortitude, and apathy. He's got those intact. You can't really take that away from him. And the conqueror realized, dang it, I conquered this city, but I couldn't conquer Stilbo. In fact, Stilbo conquered me and all that. If that's the case, then if that's how a Stoic would react, a well-seasoned and tempered Stoic, I imagine, and if Job were such a man, then I imagine he would react in the same way. He's basically lost everything, but he still has his goods with him. So interesting. So still, Satan had no way with such a man. So now the Satan comes back down. Now he's been given license by God to go ahead and you can hurt him, just don't kill him. So what does he do? He inflicts Job with some boils and rashes and gooey stuff, and Job's reduced to scraping his skin with pot shards and the like, and he gives him internal disorders and just makes him sick and just really, really bad. That is the point where so what's Job's reaction? Job, the man of God's reaction, versus the Stoic reaction. Job's the man of God reaction is to strip off his clothes And he still doesn't curse God, but he laments the day he was born. Curse the day that I was born. I wish I had never been born so that I wouldn't have to go through this. What was the reason for my birth? He's still complaining. He's still, having a hard time. He's still not blaming God. From that point, the Stoic would keep whistling the same tune, right? I still have all my goods. I have my wisdom. I have my reason, which allows me to collect and gain more wisdom. My temperance, my fortitude, my apathy. Did I say my virtue? So the Stoic still saying the same thing. Now, what happens next in the book of Job is that Job's, I think it's his 4, 5, 6, 7 friends show up, right? And they show up and they're scratching their heads. They're looking at Job and they're kind of scratching their heads. And this is the main part of the body of the book of Job, is this long dialogue where the friends are looking at Job, trying to figure out just what is it? Why is this happening to you? Clearly, and their point is, clearly you messed up, Job. Clearly you didn't cut the mustard with God, and this is your punishment. Blah, right? I mean, of course. And Job is like, having this dialogue back and forth with him. It's kind of like a long string of poetry, of rationalization, deliberating on, the cause of all this, without anybody knowing that it's really basically all just a wager between Satan, the Satan, and God. So that goes on and 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 on. Now, I don't think Stoic Job would engage in any of that. He would just kind of like say, it is what it is. Hand me a pot shard. I got some scratching to do, right? Now, along in that, Job still isn't blaming God, going back to the man of God, Job. But his wife kind of steps in at one point and says, maybe it's just time for you just to kind of just die, shuffle off this mortal coil and get on with it, right? And Job doesn't do that, but he pleads to God, why? And God makes an appearance. God comes down. I don't know if he comes down like he did with Abraham or others, and he actually makes a physical appearance. But he's there. He's communing with Job in some way, and God's basically here's God showing up. And Job's like, hi, naked, boils, scratching the skin. The wife saying, just off yourself. His friends are saying, you're a bad man. Clearly you deserved it. And Job's like, why? I wish I had been born. Why, God, am I doing that? Here comes God. I can't do a very good impression, but okay. Job, dude, where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? What do you know about the minute details of all this universe behind me that I am maintaining through every moment, through the application of my sustenance, my sustaining power? What do you know about all of the machinery of the universe, the ongoing, cacophony of interactions that are happening? Who are you to question me? And then God adds about 2 great beasts. I can't remember the name of the first one, but the second one is Leviathan, which I think is whale. It's a great sea monster. And then God goes on. Speaking of which, not only am I responsible for all of this and sustaining all of this through my simple mere presence, of which you know nothing, you simple, humble, nothing man. Do you know about my beasts, the one thing, and then the Leviathan? And he goes on to describe the Leviathan with its scales, its interweaving, the chinks of its armor that have no seams between, its great jaws, it's all the things it can do. And he's really trying to impress him with, I created these things. Not only as if creating the universe wasn't enough, created 2 great beasts. God kind of finishes with all of that. And at that point, Job is just like awed. He's like, oh, wow. Yeah, I get it. I haven't got a leg to stand on. Who am I to question, much less understand any of this? I get it, God. And he doesn't go so far as to say, I'm sorry, but it kind of ends there. And then there's a bit at the end where God restores his family, his kids, restores his flocks, restores his health, of course, restores his fortune, double everything. He gets it all back, right? Double everything. Not necessarily for any other reason than just God decided to do that. And thus ends the book of Job, right? So, you take from that what you want. I mean, I think apologists will try to tell us that there's a lesson in there that Job was partial to his works, right? That he thought that by doing good works that he could have communion, he could walk with God, but that that walking with God was more related to having faith and seeking that relationship with God. Sounds like a rationalization to me, but that's neither here nor there. I'm thinking this story is more about simply an opportunity to demonstrate the awesome power of God and the fact that we should not question that, and we should just whatever happens, we should just thank God for whatever blessings we do have along the way. How would a Stoic react to the end of that thing? How would Stoic react to a God actually visiting them? Now, many of the Greek and Roman Stoics were probably religious to the extent that they thought that the Greek gods or the Roman gods did exist, that whole pantheon thing. So they probably wouldn't be so surprised. They again would recognize, what am I going to do? You're a god. I'm a nobody, right? I'm just going to accept what happens to me and not question it. The difference then between Job, the man of God, and Job, the Stoic, throughout this whole thing would be this: instead of Job, the man of God, having these ups and downs of outward, reacting to the circumstances, each hammer blow of Satan that occurs to him, and then reconciling it at the end and just kind of accepting the fact, the Stoic, a very mature and well-seasoned Stoic, would be able to weather this with basically equanimity throughout, right? Very little up and down through the whole thing. As every hammer blow hit, it would kind of push them down, but then they kind of balance up. They wouldn't be going up and down. That kind of is one of the characteristics of the Stoic, and that's how Stoics kind of get that stereotypical image that Stoics are people who aren't subject to great emotional flux, right? That we basically my dream, we can basically maintain current and balance throughout. And there you go. There's my impression of how the story of Job would have gone had Job been a Stoic. I don't know. What do you think? You can leave your thoughts and comments. And for now, I'm going to head on home. And I wish you all the best. Remember, the path of wildness, it's easy to find. The course of a stream, leaves blown in the wind, a beast tracked through the brush, and the direction of our first inclination. Be safe, but not too safe. Bye-bye.